This is the lecture for Ancient and Medieval History for Wednesday, the 8th of December, 2021. And we had been talking about the democracy in Athens, the direct democracy in Athens. The fact that instead of electing people like we do, the Athenians would appoint, well, actually, the Athenians would personally participate. Every citizen, which is every freeborn man of Athens, no slaves, no foreigners, no women, but every freeborn man of Athens, no matter how low or how high, how stupid or how brilliant, how ugly or how beautiful, everyone is invited to the General Assembly, where they work through an agenda. They debate, there's the talking staff, anyone can speak once, and then everyone who participated votes. And it can be on anything. The Council of 500 is a semi-executive board that determines what the agenda will be before the meetings happen. It's an important job. They get to decide what's going to be talked about, what's going to be voted on. They are chosen by lottery on the principle that any citizen should be able to step up and do the job. And they are in a term of 6 months. So they serve for 6 months. And while the General Assembly certainly does randomly pick its fair share of morons, nutbags, and crazy or horribly poor judgment people, that's a lousy way of putting it, the assumption is that either they're going to be in the minority with 500 people, you have 150 unsuitable leaders, you still have 350 who are. And even if you have a weird Council of 500 that's dominated by your less apt people, they're only there for 6 months. Hopefully, Athens cannot be unmade in a 6-month term. Hopefully. So every citizen is a participant in the General Assembly, and any citizen is eligible to be randomly picked for the Council of 500, which is fine for most activities. Most things that people do are they're forgiving. You can have a bad day in most jobs, and you can go back the next day and make it right. Not all, but most. What is the most difficult and unforgiving thing that human beings do? What is the field of activity that will punish you every single time you mess up? And even when you don't sometimes. I'm asking for raised hands, yes.
Public speaking.
The worst that's going to happen with public speaking is people will laugh at you, and it'll be difficult to get other people to listen to you in the future. No, I appreciate you thinking, yes.
Would it be karma or irony?
Well, karma and irony is these are individual things that some people believe in. Karma is your fate produced by your choices, and irony is when something happens that is sort of the opposite of what it's supposed to, and it's kind of funny because nobody recognizes it. It's the emperor has no clothes sort of moment. Not that, though. What will get people killed if you don't do it well? What do people do with one another where people will die if everyone does not bring their best to the game, to the fight, to the event? I ask you to guess.
War.
Ha! Good God, y'all. Yes, war. Because in war, you're not up against nature, which might or might not be paying attention. You're not up against animals who are predictable. A bull is huge, but it's predictable. A bear is huge, less predictable, but still basically predictable. You go up against a human being in a situation where everyone understands Slaughter is the name of the game. And you don't bring your best. And even if you do bring your best, you're still going to die. And everyone you love is going to be enslaved. Losing a war is bad. It's not, oh, you win some, you lose. No! Losing a war is bad. So the one field of endeavor that the Athenians would not countenance to be chosen by random lottery, or everyone gets to participate, is war. The only elected offices in the Athenian democracy are the 10 generals, or strategoi. Bless you. Athens elects its generals. Its generals prepare the military for war in peacetime and lead the military in wartime. Generals like Themistocles can be, bless you, very influential people. But they are not randomly chosen. You want people, as your executives in peace preparing for war and during war, to be your smartest, your most clever, your most able leaders. Because you can bet your bottom drachma that your enemies are going to be led by their best. And if they're not, they're doing something wrong. So, the generals of Athens are elected. Bless you. Did I say that? Yeah, I did say it.
You said it 3 times.
I said it 3 times. No. I guess I'm just stuttering in my mind this morning. So, the idea is you can get away with having a bozo on the Council of 500. You cannot get away with having a bozo in charge in a battle. Hey, you guys, you go over there. Why? Because it'll look good. It'll make a nice formation. It's like people who play chess to make these beautiful formations of their pieces. Meanwhile, the other guy's just slaughtering their way to capturing the king, or killing the king, to checkmate. The name of the game in war is victory. You want your best people. Now, there's one other thing before we go into the most famous general of the Athenian Golden Age, a man who gives that Golden Age its name, the Age of Pericles. Before we do that, let's talk about the ostracon. The ostracon is a broken piece of pottery. It's a potsherd. And in a society that uses so much pottery for so many things, there are a lot of broken pottery. There's a lot of broken potsherds. So once a year, the General Assembly gets together. And everyone gets a potsherd and a piece of charcoal or something to write on it with. And maybe they'll talk about it. But at the end of that session, they each write the name of the person they want out of Athens. The person they may like the least, or their greatest enemy, or whatever. And they put the ostracon, that's the potsherd with the name on it, into a giant pot. And afterwards, the names are drawn. And the person with the most votes gets exiled from Athens, just like Themistocles did. They do this once a year. They vote somebody off of their world, off of their city, out. Is there psychological wisdom in this? Is there something good about this? Or is this just nonsense, craziness, foolishness? What could be the benefit?
I think it could be good or it could be bad, depending on who's being exiled.
Let's talk about the good side. What is a situation where ostracizing someone can be a good thing?
So, if somebody was like, did something very bad, or it's just like Cain said, and doesn't do anything good, anything, I think that's a good time.
Okay, so somebody who's annoying and unproductive. Yeah, there are people like that. And it would be an incentive to be less annoying and more productive if the fate is that you might get voted out of the city, which is not a happy fate for most people. Even Themistocles didn't like it. So, okay, if you're irritating or unproductive, are there other things, other qualities that the Athenians might discourage or get rid of with ostracism? So?
Like really crazy and kind of.
Yeah, look, if you're disruptive, if your idea of going to the Agora and making a speech is, ah! That's just irritating. That could result in ostracism. Usually it would result in just a bunch of fruit and rocks being thrown at you. Yeah, a few rocks would get in there. But, oh, that's irritating. Ostracism is a psychological release valve. And as much as the namby-pamby playground police have tried to get involved, kids ostracize one another naturally. I know this because it's happened to me a couple of times. Kids will bully one another. They will. Kids will keep score when they play games. Everybody wins. No, we're keeping score. And the kids always keep score. And if somebody keeps irritating everyone, they're going to be ostracized. Or if somebody just doesn't fit in, they're going to be ostracized. Ostracism is often connected with bullying, but it's a little bit different. It is something that people will naturally do. And I guess there is something to say for a democracy that lets people rule themselves, allowing this once a year pressure release, this catharsis, to say, okay, that's it, no more, we're not putting up with this. Now we go on to Pericles himself. Would you, in back, please close the shades? Yes, the shades. The bane of your existence.
I try to get them down farther, then they go up.
Do your best. And let's see if I can. Somebody help him.
I get him down.
Yeah, but they're not down all the way.
There you go. You just need someone to come over there
Good.
and help you.
I just need some emotional support.
Thank you, Dan. That's okay. Nobody will ostracize you over that.
They
Well,
might throw rocks at you.
yeah, that's different. Okay, so history.
The best ostracism is like sending dad jokes to your chat that people said you out. You're sending what?
Dad jokes.
I have like this entire camera roll. My camera roll has like 100 photos of random dad jokes, and I'll send them. And once I get enough, I'll just send them.
That's funny.
Send them.
Please get the lights. Okay, so this is Pericles. Pericles on his best day. You see, Athenian sculpture and Greek sculpture in general during its golden age is idealized. The Romans, when they sculpted people, would sculpt somebody with warts and wrinkles and scars and maybe a nasty look on their face, because that's the way they really looked. And the Romans appreciated that. The dictator in English history, Oliver Cromwell, said of somebody who was painting him, no, you're doing it wrong. I want to be painted warts and all. And Cromwell had a notoriously warty face, so the painter painted him with his warts. But the Greeks wanted ideal. Now, this may not be something that you are aware of, but maybe you are. Back in the day at malls, there was a photo studio called Glamour Shots. And what Glamour Shots specialized in, how can I put this delicately and diplomatically? Making ugly people look beautiful. That's what Glamour Shots did. So they would use tricks like camera lenses that were soft focus, or people would hold a fan over their wart, or they would be posed in such a way. And it worked, actually. I worked in a portrait studio briefly back in the early 90s in Kmart. I hated it. I was bad at it, so I did it for about 3 weeks, and then I left. I quit. They didn't fire me, but I think they would have if I had stayed long enough. But glamour shots specialized in getting people on their best day and making them look even better. So sort of an idealized version of that. Photographs are, they're sort of snapshots. You can get derps in photographs. You get people doing, they're in the middle of saying a word. But sculptures aren't like that. This is made of marble. Nothing on this sculpture is by accident. So Pericles, the general of Athens, who's elected again and again and again and again and again and again and again for the rest of his natural life, Pericles, who as an individual dominates the world's greatest direct democracy where everyone is supposed to be equal, a little ironic there, Pericles chose to be seen this way. And this way is handsome, beautiful even, with dreamy eyes. Oh, Pericles, what a guy. Pericles had a birth defect. He had a bulge in his skull. So Pericles was always sculpted wearing a helmet so as to cover the unsightly skull bulge that he possessed. Makes sense. Some men who are embarrassed about going bald, I'm clearly not, but some men who are embarrassed going bald, my brain needed the room. Hair goes bye-bye. It's the way it is. If you look at evolution pictures, you got the hairy ape man and less hairy ape man and less hairy ape man. You got men who are somewhat hairy. Logically, bald people are the future because we have less hair. In any event, Pericles, like those bald men, wears a hat all the time, but that hat is a helmet because he's a general. So this is sort of a glamour shots version of Pericles. Now, Pericles is elected again and again. I got to remember the dates. From 461 to 429 BC. 461 to 429 BC. Oh, what's 61 minus 29? What's 61 minus 29? 32. Thank you. So Pericles is elected to office again and again for 32 years. And the only reason he stops being elected to office is he dies in the plague. Otherwise, he probably would have been continually elected until he died of something. Because look at him. He's just so amazing. So one of the things you should note about ancient sculptures is they're a little bit like propaganda. It's designed to sell an idea, in this case to sell an image. Advertising companies get paid big bucks today and throughout modern times to sell images. I'm loving it. What product is that?
McDonald's.
Yeah. What are some other ones? What are some other jingles or images? We have the meats. That's Arby's. Yeah.
I don't
What?
auto parts.
Oh God. Yeah. That's more local, but they're there. That's a jingle. Look, I don't know where they got this idea, but about 10 or 15 years ago, Burger King decided to have this creepy masked king guy who looked like a pedophile stalker. No, I mean it. He had this creepy look, and he appeared like an evil Teletubby floating into your world. No, I not only want to avoid eating at his place, I want to avoid him in every way possible. I don't get it. Colonel Sanders, Kentucky Fried Chicken. So what this is selling, what this picture is selling, is beauty, strength, wisdom, reliability. He is all that is man, or at least he is all that is leader. And he got elected for 32 years and only stopped because he died. So it clearly worked. Now, what's ironic about this should be obvious. Athens is a democracy where everyone's the same, where everyone is equal. But I guess Pericles must be first among equals. Yeah, that's it. He's first among equals. And we're going to hear this concept again and again. Animal farm. Some animals are more. What's the line?
More equal than others.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Some animals are more equal than others. And George Orwell was one of the world's only honest communists. He genuinely believed in communism, but he hated what was done in the name of communism in Russia and elsewhere. And he wrote a bunch of books about it. Animal Farm is one. My favorite is 1984, which is incredible and depressing and really, really sharp and depressing. And it gets to the heart of why communism is evil. And it's depressing, just in case you haven't gotten it. But it's an incredible book. It is, at the very least, ironic that Pericles here so dominates the politics of Athens during the Golden Age that most people call it the Age of Pericles. It's just a little, yeah, it doesn't quite fit. Now, what are some of the projects that Pericles produces? Well, let's see.
Same birthday as George Orwell.
You do? What is it? I didn't know what George Orwell's birthday was.
I didn't either until like, She's 20.
Okay. So here, for the love of God. Okay. This is the Parthenon. I don't know, but I've been told Parthenon is really old. So, the Parthenon is the temple to Athena in Athens, on the hill overlooking the Agora and overlooking the city. The Parthenon is a classic bit of Greek sculpture. No, I'm not going to know better with Britannia. There's advertising right there. Okay, let's.
So gooses.
Come on, can I do this?
Don't tell me.
Oh yes, good. Okay, so here is a cutaway diagram of the Parthenon as it was, back in Pericles' time. So he builds this perfectly proportioned Greek temple. And of course it's to Athena because Athena, Athens, city of Athena. And so you've got this giant picture of Athena here in the center of the temple. And the Parthenon still stands. This picture of the Parthenon is lit by electric lights, but it's still there today. If you go to Athens, you'll see it.
They didn't have one.
Pericles did not just build the Parthenon all by its lonesome. No, Pericles did more than that. Around the... Okay, can we do this? Can we do this? Oh, let's see. Okay, yes we can. Okay, around the Parthenon, which I assume you can see right here, is the Acropolis, or the Acropolis. Acropolis, well, what's an acrobat? Somebody who does gymnastics up high. Acropolis, or the Acropolis, is the high city. So above the rest of Athens, you have this structure, this platform with several temples. The Parthenon is the centerpiece. And what this is, I'll see if I can get another picture, that at least gives you an idea. What this is it's not the way the world is. It's the way the world should be. When I lived in Maine, the Tourist Bureau of Maine had a slogan called Maine, the way life should be. And it worked. A lot of people still travel to Maine for tourist stuff. So here's another picture of the Acropolis. This is a painting. And what the Acropolis is not the way life is, it's the way life should be. Pericles is having it built in order to create an ideal, an image that still is the symbol of Athens. You look up Egypt, pyramids. Rome, the Colosseum. London, Parliament or London Bridge. Paris, the Eiffel Tower. Moscow, St. Basil's Cathedral with the onion domes and the Kremlin. Athens, the Parthenon, the Acropolis. The idea of an ideal city, of a utopia, which literally means nowhere, of a perfected world right in the heart of Athens. From anywhere in Athens in those days, you could look up and see the Acropolis, and right in the center you could see the Parthenon. So, what Pericles is selling is what wonders we are making. We are building a better world. We have achieved victory over the Persians, and we are building things like have never been built before. This is better than Egypt. It's better than the pyramids. It's more complicated. It's more beautiful, elegant. And we are doing it. Well, actually, he's doing it. Pericles is using his political power to have Athens spend vast amounts of money on these architectural projects to get people unified, to get people proud, to give Athens a sense of its own importance. Lights, please. But, can I ask you to pull the shades up?
I can do that part.
Thank you. But, it's not just that we're going to do these symbolic artsy projects. Athens has some needs. And one of those needs, thank you,
You're welcome.
sooner or later, an army from, it could be anywhere, but it'll rhyme with Blarta, is going to come after us. Blarta. What rhymes with Blarta? Carta. There you go. Sooner or later, they're going to come. It's going to happen. Pericles and his entire generation thought it was inevitable. We'll talk about that. So we've got to prepare now. And while our fleet is supreme, their army is. So what are we going to do? Well, here's Athens, several miles from the sea. Here's Piraeus, the port city of Athens, with a fortified harbor. So, what we're going to do is we're going to put a wall on the left side of the road from Piraeus to Athens. And we're going to put a wall on the right side of the road from Piraeus to Athens. And we're going to call these and the improved fortifications around Athens and around Piraeus to protect the harbor. We're going to call these the long walls.
Whoa.
Because they're long, see? And they're walls. The long walls. And what the long walls are going to be, Pericles does not want to have to evacuate the Salamis again. So, there are old World War II movies. You're fighting the Japanese in the jungle somewhere. And you've escaped, or you're lost, you're not with your unit, you're alone, or there's just a couple of guys, and there are like 50 or 75 or 100 Japanese coming down the path. And you're right by a stream. So what you do is you pluck off a piece of bamboo, make sure it's hollow, and you lie under the water, and you breathe through the bamboo. And you do this in the midst of a bamboo stand. You know, like a bunch of grass, because bamboo is basically grass. And from a distance, it looks like you're just, there's nobody there, it's just bamboo. So 2 or 3 people among the bamboo stand breathing quietly as they can, through the bamboo tube. Today we call that a snorkel. But sometimes it worked. Sometimes you could lie under the water. The Japanese wouldn't notice. They go by, and after they're by, you wait for their trailing scouts to go, and then you get up and shake yourself off and continue the other way, away from the Japanese towards your destination. That snorkel, that breathing tube, is your lifesaver, because you can't just lie on the water and wait, underwater and wait. There's a small problem with that. What might it be? Exactly. Someday we might have, instead of doing gender reassignment surgery, somebody will say, "I want to live under the sea."
Oh my gosh, yes.
And I think it will. I want webbed fingers and webbed toes, and I want gills, and I want nictating membranes over my eyes, and a thicker layer of fat. And who knows? Maybe they'll get it.
They did that on South Park.
Did they?
Yeah, Kyle's
They do
dad turned
everything
into
on
a doll.
How did it end up?
I don't remember, but he
South-
turned out of a doll.
Okay,
He decided he didn't want to be a doll.
good. That's good. I'm glad. Kyle's farther. Then he ended up what? Growing marijuana. Yes.
No, that was Stan's.
That's Stansted. Okay. See, I don't really. I know Cartman. That's the only name I know, and Kenny,
Yeah.
because he
South
dies.
Those
Will
are
offend
everyone.
I know. Look, most of the time I like South Park, except when it offends me. But no, in general terms, and what they do to China is just. It's not because I hate China. I love China and Chinese people. I hate the frickin' Communist Party. So, the long walls are going to be a breathing tube. Athens will rule the sea, Sparta will rule the land, and the long walls will allow Athens to hold out for as long as they need to against Sparta. Because these aren't just, normal city walls. These are super califragilistic, expialidocious city walls. They're tall and they're thick and they're really, really hard to
I was
take
wondering
down.
why are they called long and tall walls?
Because come on, that's just silly. No. Long walls, it sings, especially in Greek. I have no idea what it sounds like in Greek. But long and tall, no.
Yes.
That you're thinking like new and improved. You can't have a new product. It's new and improved. Like one word. Okay. So Pericles is also going to build the navy up. They don't have admirals. Their generals command on land and at sea. And the Athenian Navy is the heart of its power. So, in peacetime, Athens builds up this massive number of warships. And these warships spread Athenian influence and power wherever they go. This is still done, by the way. The British rule the world because of their navy 100 years ago. The Chinese are desperate to try to gain power today, and so they're trying to get naval bases all over the world, including on the Atlantic seaboard of Africa, which would be a threat to our east coast. Having a powerful navy to control trade and to build colonies and to sweep the enemy's ships from the sea is an ancient thing, and Pericles is going to practice it. He wants sea power for Athens, and he gets it. He gets the Parthenon, he gets the Acropolis, he gets the long walls, and he gets the most powerful navy in the known world. What's going to happen with it? Well, okay. The Aegean Sea and the coastlines of the Aegean Sea are filled with little city-states that are independent, like Delos, D-E-L-O-S. Delos is an island city-state. And the Athenians show up, and they actually invite all of the minor city-states who will come to a council at Delos. Not even at Athens, at Delos. And I hate to ask, but I got to ask the people. Yeah. I did shut the window, so hopefully it's not too cold. At Delos, the Athenian representatives say in so many words, you're isolated on these islands. Bad things can happen to you. The Persians could have shown up and taken over. Other pirates could come around and take over. Other countries. And if they find us separated, they'll win. Or they'll probably win. What kept us alive against the Persians was that we came together, we unified. So what we propose is a league, a Delian League, a defense alliance. Somebody attacks one of us, we say they attacked all of us, and we all go to war. And Athens is going to be a part of it. And that means our Navy and our Marines are going to be a part of it. An attack on one of us is attack on all of us. We will all come together and fight for all of us. None of us are alone. None of us are isolated, which sounds reasonable. It's the principle of the NATO alliance today, the North Atlantic Treaty Alliance between the United States, Canada, and Western Europe, just designed to protect Soviet and Russia, to prevent Soviet or Russian attacks into Europe. So huge numbers of small poli join up. And part of the benefit is that you'll get an Athenian warship that'll stay in your harbor, and an Athenian marine garrison which will stay in your capital city to protect you. Suckers! Because, in fact, it's a trap. In fact, within 10 years, most every one of these free countries that had trusted Athens to join in an alliance had the Athenian ship and the Athenian garrison get involved in local politics and either support a king that would do whatever the Athenians wanted, or if there was a stubborn king that insisted on his free action, he'd get overthrown with the help of the Athenians, and a pliable puppet king would end up taking over. So within 10 or 15 years, the Delian League, a league of independent states for mutual defense, becomes the Athenian Empire. And the Athenians are not like the Persians. They're like the Babylonians in some respects. No, the Athenians don't make everyone worship Athena. But the Athenians treat everyone who's not an Athenian like scum, like a second-class citizen in their own country. So here we are in Delos, 15 years later. And Delos is no longer Delos, it's a colony of the Athenian Empire. No Delian citizen is anywhere near power anymore. The Athenians run everything, except for the puppet king. The puppet ruler, but he's basically a tool of Athens. He has no freedom. He has no ability to do anything. He basically gets up and says whatever the Athenians want. So the Athenians march around Delos and everywhere else like they're better than everyone else. Now, what this does is it keeps everyone in line while Athens is strong. No one's going to mess with the Athenians while Athens is strong, because Athens is strong and they'll hurt you. But it gives nobody any reason to be loyal to Athens. Like the Aztecs, like the Babylonians, like countless other petty-minded, grasping, micromanaging rulers, the Athenians inspire hatred in their subject peoples. And the moment Athens is weak, the subject peoples of their empire, who were tricked into becoming parts of their empire, are going to rise up. See, this is ironic, too. The Athenians talk about how everyone in our democracy is free and equal. But if you're part of our empire, you can just do what a jet engine does and suck it. Because in reality, it's freedom for me and not for thee. This is not a good idea. If you're in charge of people, you're the boss of them because of whatever. Part of your job, if you're smart, is to find ways to do things for them so that they might actually be loyal to you. So that they actually might think it's a better idea for you to be there than for you not to be there. So that when you're weak and when you're down, bless you, and when you're vulnerable, the people who are with you when you're strong are going to stay with you when you're weak. You see what I'm saying? When you conquer someone, when you rule someone, when you're in charge of someone, find some way of serving their needs, of being a good leader, of caring about the people under you. Because if you do, they might, doesn't always work, but if they might be more willing to go out of their way to help you. But if you rule through naked force, which is what the Babylonians did, what the Aztecs did, and what the Athenians did, they're just waiting for the time when you will fall. Pericles summed up what was great about Athens. War with Sparta had begun, plague was coming, but Pericles makes a speech honoring the war dead. And that speech is something that you have right in your notes on this page, the dark page. And so I will read it and try to convey what Pericles thought of Athens in its golden age. Okay, here's the introduction. This is not what Pericles said, because he never called the year he was speaking 431 BC. In the winter of 431 BC, Athens honored its war dead with a public funeral. As a part of the ceremony, Pericles spoke in praise of the dead and the city for which they had died. His speech is the best expression of the Athenians' pride in their polis. Now, one of the most famous speeches in American history is done in imitation of this. Do any of you know of a great Civil War speech that was made at a battlefield to honor the dead who had fallen there?
The Gettysburg.
The Gettysburg Address. 7 years ago, our fathers established on these shores, and he goes on to talk about. No, wonderful speech. Not a long one either. Lincoln goes to Gettysburg. What?
I think it was like 3 minutes, and the guy before him had talked for like 2 hours.
Yeah. Gettysburg Address is crucial to understand what it felt like to be alive during the Civil War. But the pretext, the excuse for it was to honor the dead who had fallen in this key battle, the turning point battle of the Civil War. So Pericles, Lincoln was definitely thinking of Pericles when he decided to do this. Okay, here's what Pericles says. Our Constitution does not copy the laws of neighboring states. Instead, others copy what we do. Our plan of government favors the many instead of the few. That is why it is called a democracy. As for laws, we offer equal justice to everyone. As for social standing, advancement is open to everyone according to ability. High position does not depend on wealth, nor does poverty bar the way. We take pleasure in the arts, but without extravagance. We take pleasure in knowledge, but without being soft. Our public leaders have their own businesses as well as politics to take care of. Our ordinary citizens see to their own livelihood, but are also capable of making political decisions. Unlike other nations, we Athenians do not call a man who takes no part in public life quiet or unambitious. We call such a man useless. In short, our polis is the school of all Greece. This is the Athens for which these men nobly fought and died, because they could not bear the thought of losing such a city. So, I know I just read it, but I'm going to hit the high points. Athens is a meritocracy. Meritocracy is the best system for any society because it's the fairest. In a meritocracy, you reap what you sow. If you work hard, you make money. If you're lazy, you get by, or maybe you don't. In a meritocracy, people are promoted not because they're relatives of the owner, but because they're better at their job than everyone else. People can get behind the idea of meritocracy because people do mostly, unless they're mad, have a basic sense of fairness. If you're a great soccer player and I stink on ice at soccer, you should get picked for the team. No one should pick me for a soccer team. And if it comes down to it, if you're the best soccer player and you're a good leader, you should be the team captain. Not because of who you are, but because of what you do. That's meritocracy. I have no idea even if you play soccer. Do you? Good. It's a sport of socialism. I'm not a fan. How can you say that? Soccer's so wonderful. That's good. I enjoy watching it. It's just I find it difficult to get too excited about a game whose scores often end in a tie 0-0. That's just weird to me. But I'm maligning it. It's like I talk about France and the French. Dr. LeBlanc hates it when I do that.
Oh, she talks about you all the time.
Oh God, no. Anyway, I don't want to know what she says. So it's a meritocracy, and look, our leaders are regular people. Our leaders have jobs. Our leaders have to make a living. And anyone who doesn't step up and serve their country, they're not quiet. They're not unambitious. They're a waste of space. They're a waste of space. They're useless. So it's a city that's a meritocracy. It's a city that expects people to step up and help the common good. And it's a place of freedom. Is that worth dying for? These men thought so. Now we come to it. For 50 years, from the end of the Persian War, Athens and Sparta have about as much in common as a lion and a tiger shark. We're going to talk about Sparta more tomorrow, but Athens is a mercantile society, Sparta is an agrarian society. Athens is sea-oriented with a navy, Sparta is land-oriented with an army. We're not going yet. We still have a few minutes. Signal. Guys, close up. Athens has an empire. Sparta has slaves. But they're going to fight a war over something that every war in human history, without exception, every single one, is fought over. And we will talk about what that is tomorrow. Questions, comments, thoughts. I'm not going to tell you what it is today. Put you on a cliffhanger. Tomorrow, we'll find out why every human war is fought. Okay, I see no questions. Thank you. You may talk quietly among yourselves. Have a good day.